across state lines with hillbillies and guns. It's been a hell of a ride and a whole lot of fun. They gave me many names down there in Dixie, but the main one that stuck on me was whiskey.
And welcome to another episode of the Bourbon and Ballistics podcast, the show where we talk a little about whiskey, a little about firearms, and a whole lot of everything in between. I'm your host, Joel Potter, and invite you to sit back, relax, pour yourself a glass as we talk some bourbon and ballistics. Today's guest is a rising force in country music, a new friend of mine through, I guess, not your in-laws, but your
girlfriend's mom and dad.
Mom and dad, yeah. So we've hung out a couple times, got a little bit of a backstory on you. You bring the grit of Texas, you got the soul of storytelling and the sound that pays homage to the greats while carving out a name for yourself and really bring it to your own. So, Jake, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for making the drive down during the worst time of day.
It's okay.
The drive in from Reno. You did pretty good. Yeah, you crushed it, really.
My map said 54 minutes. So I left the house at like exactly 4 o'clock.
Good for you.
And then I got to like the spaghetti bowl, and it was like, yeah, this is going to take a lot longer than I anticipated.
You know, that I think the northbound to north to east right there at the bowl usually gets pretty congested, but southbound, once you get past that, it's usually okay unless there's some sort of an accident.
Usually easy. There was a wreck by the Nugget, I think, and it was just backed up.
That'll get you.
Because I live right behind the Legends.
Okay.
And so, like, getting on at McCarran right there before the pyramid exit is like where everybody slams on their brakes and tries to send over 3 lanes and just drives like a bunch of idiots.
I got to see on the way home just in South Carson, somebody was trying to basically jump through. We were all at the light, and someone tried to jump across 3 lanes and got T-boned right in front of me, and I was like, they got to go. But it was nice and slow. Fortunately, it wasn't nothing
crazy.
Nothing crazy. I didn't get to witness anybody get hurt, so that was good.
There's been some pretty brutal wrecks the last like 3 weeks, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like I never really noticed because I'm usually not home, and so I'm not paying attention to what's going on. But like Haley drives in from Gardnerville every day, so she sees. Like there was one day she dropped me off at the airport a couple weeks ago, and was driving back, and there was like a fatality.
Oh.
Like 30 minutes before she drove through.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate truth about when you try to put so many people in such a confined space. I mean, right
Absolutely.
now, Sparks is out of room, and Reno's just, to the point where they're just doing infill stuff, and they're still just figuring out how to. Now they're just going up, going to Cold Springs, and
so
it's not going to get any better.
No, absolutely not.
So that is a terrible way to start the show. Let's talk a little bit more about you. It'll be a little bit more fun.
Oh yeah.
So you're a country artist. I've had the in the last few weeks. I mean, since I got to know you, the opportunity to go and listen to your stuff, and you really do bring such a fun. And I don't want to try to typecast, but like it's like a real fun, like 90s, like exactly the kind of stuff that country music is missing right now. And it's you have quite a few songs that I just think a lot of people once they hear them are going to jump right on board. And I see your following is ever growing. You're touring. You're doing a ton of shows. You're very busy, so you're doing something right.
We're trying to, man. I think that this whole I guess neo-traditional revival is going on, and guys like Cody Johnson and Randall King and of course Zach Top lately have been kind of leading the charge in that department, and John Party's kind of been doing it here and there for a while. I know that just like everybody in Nashville, you got to have something that's going to sell, and you got to play the game to be on the radio, and there's just so many talented artists now that are kind of, I guess, relieving themselves from and just getting out of their shell that they've been cramped in because the kind of country music that has dominated for the last 15 years has I think it's kind of ran its course, and so everybody that has been wanting to play the stuff that they grew up on but it wasn't going to sell is finally able to do so. And to be kind of at the I wouldn't say I'm like middle of the pack and getting to where I want to be, And I would say that the hardest part is just getting the media to the masses.
Yeah,
because with the way that the algorithms work and the way that, as you know, with social media, you can never predict what's going to be, a hit video or even a freaking hit song on the radio. Nobody knows.
Right.
And if they say they know, they're smoking something that's legal in half the country.
Yeah.
And maybe not, and maybe illegal. I don't know what they're doing, but it's not right.
Right.
And I've noticed that as I've kind of come up in the last 5 years, you'll get emails from people that are just like, hey, I've found your page here. This is who I am. This is what I do. And then I asked my friends in Nashville, who's this person? They're like, I don't know. Never heard of them.
Yeah.
And so usually, that's the number one thing that artists get suckered into early is, they believe somebody that sends them an email and says, if you pay me this much amount of money up front, I will make you a star. And my old manager, Scott, told me, he goes, nobody should ever ask for you anything up front. If they truly believe in you that much, they're going to foot the bill for it, and they'll recoup when you have success.
It's interesting because my wife and I went to Nashville a few years back for our 10-year anniversary, and it was just coming out of COVID. But it was the story's kind of twofold. So first, coming out of COVID, it was dead, right?
Yes.
And it was super cool because we could go. There was no mask mandates in Nashville, but nobody was comfortable yet being there. So it was still really busy, but it's nothing like it is. Like I see pictures of now, and it was just so cool because you had so much opportunity to go see so many artists, and we were most of the time one of 10 people in any of the bars, unless it was Kid Rocks or whatever, right? One of the busy ones.
Yeah.
But the smaller ones, I fell in love with so many artists. It was so cool to see. But it did, and the second part of the story is it showed me how rich Nashville is with artists, and it was even the bar backs were I'm a drummer or whatever, right?
Correct.
It was everybody had a talent, and they were there for a
does
reason, But at the same time, how competitive it must be to get a gig that's going to elevate you in your status, right?
Yeah, and I've never played the Broadway scene or the Broadway circuit, but I've heard a lot of really good things and a lot of really bad things about it, and it's completely different from what it was, even 10 years ago. Nashville has kind of just exploded into this hub for not only country music but music in general. And everybody that moves to Nashville, it ends up usually doing something in the music industry. I've had friends move to Nashville just on a whim, and now they work in the industry.
Oh, really?
I had no intentions of working
that's funny.
for a music, either a producer or a publishing company or a record label or an artist.
Wow.
So it kind of just sucks you in. There's something a little special about Nashville, and I'm not the biggest fan there because there's just too many people for me, man. I like being away from a lot of it, and it's nice to be able to come back out here, and it's not too overpopulated. It's getting there, but it's not completely unbearable yet. And so it's nice to just get away and be able to go out in the desert. And
that's one of the cool things for you is your job is taking you to these places, and you get the opportunity to escape it, right? You don't have to stay there, you're not stuck there. So that is kind of cool.
There is some places that we go to, I'm like, man, I really wouldn't mind spending a week here.
Yeah.
So it's I make a list of okay, this place was cool. If I ever have a week off, I'd like to go here. And, at the end of March, we were down on a 3-day run with Braxton Keith, who's a kick-ass artist from Texas, and he's over at Warner Music Nashville, and he's having a lot of success right now and selling a shit ton of tickets, and the guy is on a heater. And we went down to play Tucson, Arizona, Pioneer Town, California, and San Diego, and it was right at the end of Haley Spring Break, and I was like, all right, let's just stay the rest of the weekend in San Diego. So we stayed a day and a half, and then came home. But it was even just to be able to take a day and enjoy something outside of walking off the bus and into the venue, and then back on the bus and into the venue.
Right.
It's a fun life, but I wish we got to see some more.
I think and a good point I want to make before we go any further is we have because we're sitting here talking with empty glasses, and it always kind of makes, almost brings a tear to my eye. So I wanted to do this real quick and get this poured up because I think that it makes for better storytelling. And then we're going to try to tie all 4 of these bottles into a bit of your journey, which I think will be really fun. So I put a little bit of work in this, and we'll see if it actually works out. But the idea is we're going to go through each of these one pour at a time. I got, we got a little bit of backstory on every one of these. We got, and this is all from Silverbelly.
Okay.
So first and foremost, let me do this because this is extremely important. We've had a lot of firsts this season. This episode is no exception. We're tasting through 4 killer pours from Silverbelly Whiskey, the signature line from country legend Alan Jackson. Big shout out to Robbie Goldsmith for reaching out. He's the CEO of Silverbelly, and he sent us, once I purchased this bottle for you, and
Thank
then
you.
when he reached out to me, and he's like, I got some other stuff you guys are going to love. So he sent me some other stuff to sample. So it's super cool. So Robbie, thank you so
that's
much.
Great. Thank you.
So we got Here in the Real World, which is their flagship, 91 proof. We'll start there. We're going to go to their limited release birthday whiskey, which is going to be super fun to talk about.
Absolutely.
They put a lot of thought into that, which I thought is super cool. We'll jump into a single barrel, and then we have a small batch. Okay. So all these are going to, come in different proofs. They're going to have different flavor profiles. It's going to be a lot of fun to taste. So I also did want to say thank you to Troy. We got some Battleborn Wine and Whiskey Glencairns on the show today. So thank you, Troy. Always a pleasure. So, okay. So let's get some stuff poured up, and then we can talk a little bit more about what you got going on.
Love it. So this is the Here in the Real World.
This is Here in the Real World. So,
great song.
It's a fantastic
Great
song.
song.
So it's a 91 proof, and it's a tribute to Alan's debut single. It's said to have a smooth, classic bourbon profile. It's going to be caramels, vanillas. You get the soft bacon spices in there. So it should be a very nice opener to a wonderful conversation. So
Love it. I'll tell you a quick story.
Yes, please.
I got to do this right in Nashville, I think 2 or 3 years ago. And one of the guys that we were supposed to write with ended up canceling. And so last minute, they filled in the slot with a gentleman named Mark Irwin. And Mark Irwin was a writer on Here in the Real World.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I got to write with him. It was really neat. We wrote a pretty kick-ass song.
Well, what a fun tie-in that is.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we'll get our nose on it, and we'll get a. Oh yeah.
That's good.
Very smooth. A little bit of brown sugar. Vanillas. Light on the oak. It's got good color, good body.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's an easy drink. And that's exactly what they're claiming it to be.
Remarkable.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So with this, and I think you did a great job leading in, I want to talk about how your journey in the music industry really began. Can you go ahead and just lead us off?
Yeah, so I've kind of always sang and loved country music since I was a kid, and my dad sang in a country band, and he never really did anything with it, but he was really talented, and so I grew up, 4 years old, going on stage with him and singing "Neon Moon" by Brooks and Dunn, and as I got older, I did some stuff in sports that was pretty cool, and I ended up being pretty decent at trampoline gymnastics.
Oh yeah.
And I spent a couple years on the U.S. national team and went to a couple, basically it's like the world championships for, by age groups.
Oh wow.
Went to 4 of those, and music was kind of always my stress release. And, English was always my favorite subject, English and history. And so I got the history itch from traveling all over the world and getting to see all the stuff that I was learning about in school, like in person. That was pretty badass. But I started writing songs and playing guitar when I was 15. And I'm still not a great guitar player, but I can get by in a live show and writing a song. And so as I developed out of, retired from trampoline, I didn't really have anything that took up all my time. And I had a quick little stint with the U.S. ski team in the aerials program. Just wasn't what I wanted to do. And when I came back, I always dreamed of being a broadcaster for ESPN. That was my, I'm going to be the guy on the sidelines or the guy in the booth that's calling the game. And that's my goal. That's what I want to do for a living. And then I realized how much school it takes to get an English and journalism degree.
Yeah, sure.
School is not my strong suit. And so I was like, screw it, man. I'm pretty good at this singing thing. I ought to just give it a try. And so I basically just went and started playing anywhere that would let me. And it started out in my aunt's restaurant in Blairsden, California, called the Grizzly Grill. And my dad and I sat in there one night and played at the bar for like an hour. And I think I was 19. And then as I turned 20, kind of started to get a little more serious about it. And I had a guy that I was in college with from Ireland that was a really good singer, guitar player, kind of more like the Ed Sheeran, type guy. But he liked country. And so we started playing all these cover songs, everything from, Randy Travis to Luke Combs at the time. And we did one show together at the county fair and my cousin's wedding. So it was, short-lived, and I moved to Reno and put a band together, and was the folks at Virginia Street Brew House at the time were nice enough to let me open for Jason Boland in July of 2019. And then we played 4 or 5 shows, and the shutdown happened. And I was like, well, I don't really know what we're going to do for this. So I wanted to keep what little momentum I had rolling. And so I started doing like a weekly cover song. And, hey, man, that's good. Weekly cover song. And so I'd post like a poll on Instagram that had a couple of songs in it, and I'd let the people that followed me vote on what song I was going to post that week.
Oh, cool.
In the week of September 11th, 2020, I posted a cover of a song called Hey Cowgirl by Randall King. And I was actually working at Highmark Distillery in Reno as the assistant distiller, and I was waiting on a batch to ferment, and I came out into the little, I guess it's like the showroom or whatever you want to call it, tasting room. And I sat down with the guitar and recorded it right there. And 2 hours later, I looked at my phone and I had like 100 pop-up notifications from Twitter.
Oh, wow.
And Randall had seen it, retweeted it, and it went like semi-viral. And I was like, oh man, this is like the coolest day ever. Like, this is neat. And I didn't think it would go anywhere past that. And that was a Saturday, and I came back to work on, I think it was Monday morning, and checked my email. And there was an email in there, and like I said earlier, you get these emails from, these people saying, this is who I am, this is what I've done, these are the people I've worked with. And it was an email from a gentleman named Scott Gunner. And Scott is Randall King, his manager, and he works at the management company that also has Cody Johnson.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, man, this is cool. And he said, hey, Jake, we were checking up on Randall's socials over the weekend, and we saw your cover, Hey Cowgirl, and we'd love to know more about what you're doing in Nevada, and, when's the next time you're going to be in Nashville? And I replied to him, I said, oh, thank you so much. Actually, I'm going to be there next week. And I went online and bought a flight right then and there.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I'll actually be there next Wednesday. And so I went in and played a couple of songs for them, and Scott is one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met in my life, and he's incredibly smart when it comes to songs. I mean, pretty much every song that Cody's cut has been approved and either sought after or picked by Scott, I guess, in a way. Obviously Cody has full control over what he does, but Scott definitely influences all of the artists he works with, because he's been in the industry for so long. And you say you don't know a hit, but Scott Gunner's probably the closest guy on the planet that might be able to pick one out of a crowd. And we met. I played him some songs. He politely told me that they sucked and I needed to write better and write more. And so it kind of lit the fire, and I came home and just started writing as much as I could. And he set me up with Trent Willman, who's Cody Johnson's producer. and Trent and I wrote together, and we hung out, got to know each other at his property, and just another amazing human. I mean, he's a talented producer and songwriter, but he was a hell of an artist too. I don't know if you've ever heard the song "The Beer Man." It's a cool song. You gotta listen to it. But we started working together, and he produced my first EP, "Lovin' and Leavin'," which had "Speed of Neon Light" as the lead single, and then we did one of those, "Rolling Stone" and "Bulletproof." And so coming out of that, we tried to start touring it, and went on the road with Randall for off and on for about a year and a half, all over the country. We were rolling around in a plumber van with a hole in the floorboard, and it had the bench seats up front, or the bucket seats up front, and a bench seat in the back, and then it had a cage right behind you. And we were pulling a trailer. We just stuffed all the gear behind the cage where all the materials went that the plumber had. And,
wow. And
there was a sticker on the inside, and I'll never forget it. And Randall thought it was the funniest thing ever because it said, "Have you hugged a plumber today?" And I don't know why we enjoyed it so much, but man, it was funny rolling around in that thing, and it had had the hole in the floorboard. So if anybody had empty drinks or there was stuff floating around, me dump them down, put them in the trash can, and then it would take up less space. We could crush all the bottles down and then send it out. But we found a lot of fun uses for that hole in the floor.
Wow.
That was the first touring rig that we had. And ever since then we've kind of slowly just kept the ball rolling and done what we could to gain momentum and keep momentum and try and get more traction where we could. And the second project that I did, I really wanted to do something that was kind of encompassing every influence that I had. And I feel like as an artist, I'm a lot like Reno. Reno has so much variety, and everybody thought I was from Texas because I rolled around with all the Texas cats. And man, those jokers know how to get down on the road. I can tell you that much. And I'm not talking about partying, man. I'm talking about busting their hump and putting their nose on the grindstone and working hard. Because I thought I knew what the grind was until I met those guys. And Randall's done a tremendous amount for me, and I owe a lot to him and a lot to Scott Gunner. And Scott and I don't work together anymore, but he's still one of those guys that I can call if I have any questions, and I'm forever appreciative of him and Howie Edelman at Durango Artists in Nashville.
So do you? I mean, and I think, are you at all surprised that you in the industry found people that? Because I mean, I think that there's I don't know. People seem to think that the music industry is sleazy, slimy. Everyone's out for themselves. But were you surprised to see that there's actually people that were good-hearted, that actually had your interest, your best?
100%. I mean, you hear all these horror stories about selling your soul to the devil. And while I've never had a record deal, and I've heard good and bad stories about record companies, I mean, at the end of the day, they're running a business. And if you're not succeeding for their business, they're going to drop you. And it's just, to find the lane of the guys that I did, I think was, a huge blessing. And I think that it was kind of one of those things that you sit and you wait around and, you do what you can to stay relevant. And it's a break. You need a break. And I'm very thankful that I have the background that I have, and I know what it takes to be the top of something, because I'm pretty sure I would have quit by now if I didn't.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, you're broke all the damn time. I I started door dashing, to offset expenses. I'd go apply for part-time jobs, and they're like, yeah, we'd love to have you. And then I give them the schedule, and they're like, yeah, this isn't going to work at all. I'm like, what job is going to let you leave 2 weeks at a time, 4 times a quarter? You know what I mean? And so, we're not making money if we're not on the road.
Right.
And with the way that DSPs and, Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon and all that works, you don't make anything. It's not like you're selling hard copies of records anymore. We do at the merch table. We sell CDs at the merch table, but it's not, it's crazy because it's kind of almost cutting publishing out of the music business, because publishing companies, if you think of like a song is $1, right? 50 cents of that dollar goes to the artist. Say we'll say one stream is $1, which it's not. It's like 0.0006 cents.
Right, yeah.
It takes $1 million to make like $6,000 or $4,000 or something. But 50 cents of that goes to the artist. The other 50 cents is to the songwriters. Say you and I write a song, I have a publishing deal, you don't. You keep your whole quarter. But for me, I only get 12.5 cents, and the publishing house gets 12.5 cents. And nowadays, with how small dividends the DSPs give the artist and the publishing companies and everybody for the song, I've got buddies that have number one hits and they've made $450 off the song. You know what I mean? As songwriters. And it's changed the game so much that nobody really knows what's coming next. I mean, you can try and anticipate it. You can try and, the TikTok game is controlling everything right now. And I posted a video about 1.5 years ago of me out at the range with my 9mm, and it was flagged for community guidelines.
Oh, yeah.
And ever since then, I haven't had a video go over 2,800 plays.
Now, we are a buddy of mine. We started a Target business in 2020, and it has been the most challenging. I mean, I can't say it's been the most challenging, but social media, like you had alluded to earlier, has completely destroyed. I don't know how these, a lot of these gun guys are getting through and breaking through, but like our Target business, I mean, once I think 2022 or something, like it was like we couldn't get any traction, right? And to this day, I mean, we can. It's not that I'm posting like real fire stuff or anything, but when I do post, it's like 6 views, and I'm like, we have 400 and something, at least 400 and something followers on one platform, and how are only 6 people seeing it? Well,
Correct.
They're so driven by the paid stuff that you don't even, and this is, I don't want to get too deep into it, but like Facebook, like you don't even see your friend's stuff anymore. It's just all ads. It's all
ads.
reels. Like they don't give a shit about what who your friends list is anymore. And to the point where I took my entire Facebook and just deleted everything that I could, right? All my unliked pages and all this stuff, and tried to completely start over. But the weird thing is it didn't allow me to actually delete everything. It made me keep 128 pages that I couldn't unfollow. Yeah, it was weird. I couldn't start from zero without starting a new account.
And 128 is such an odd number.
Right. But it just, so for you, and the reason I bring that up is because without actually going out there and doing the promoted stuff, I mean, the artists will not have a chance. I mean, the likelihood of you ever being seen is slim to none.
Slim to none.
Yeah.
And it's funny because everybody used to give the few that started the trend that's dominating now, which is like you play the audio of your new song in the background and you're out in the field lip singing it. Everybody made so much fun of everybody that was doing that right out of the gate, and now those are the people that are getting all the TikTok views. And so now everybody that was talking shit about it is starting to do it.
Yep.
And it's paying off for them. But I'm in a position where I don't have a record label. I don't have anybody that is paying for me to go record songs. So I haven't put anything out in, it'll be 2 years in August, which is a huge deal. It's a problem. And it's not like I'm not writing songs. It's not like I don't have new material. It's just so expensive to get the quality that I need. And, you wait around. I always joke with my friends and say I started checking the obituaries for all the old ladies that lost their husbands. And haven't found anything yet, but keeping my eyes peeled.
You got it, yeah. Who were now in on the music side? Who were some of your biggest influences growing up?
My dad was a football coach, and his football players hated country music. And my dad had a sticker on the back of his truck that said, "If it ain't country, it ain't music." And his football players, I can't remember if they scratched some of the words off or scribbled it out, and it ended up saying, "If it's country, it ain't music." And so he would always have to, over the speaker system in the stadium play, ZZ Top and whatever hip hop artist was popular or whatever, and the clean versions, but it was all burned on the CDs. And the players would have their mixtapes or whatever. So I mean, I had a broad spectrum to listen to from a very young age. But in the pickup with my dad and in the car with my mom and my grandma and my grandpa, it was always Randy Travis and Alan Jackson and George Strait and Garth Brooks and Brooks and Dunn. But I started, I'd say about 8 years old, when I started picking music for myself. Dierks Bentley was huge. He had the Feel That Fire and a couple more just absolute smashes from like the late 2000s. And I was 8, 10, 11, 12 years old with my little MP3 player that my mom would load up whatever I wanted onto it, from her computer. And I started kind of picking a lot of, ZZ Top and a lot of Skynyrd, and was listening to, early Justin Moore, and, eventually Cody Johnson in my high school and college days was a big influence to me. And then I started, digging deeper, and, a lot of the songs sounded really familiar. Like, I was like, where have I heard this song before? And, I hear it, 20 years ago in my dad's truck or whatever, or 15 years ago in my dad's truck. And as a 5-year-old, I'm like, man, I love Keith Whitley, but, I love Merle Haggard. And I started kind of just digging deeper and deeper back in time and finding what I really loved. And I ended up kind of gravitating towards the Don Williams and the Marty Robbins, and still while listening to what was on the radio, because that's what all the girls liked. Right. And you had to, like, when I got to college and I started playing guitar, and you had to find what the gals liked if you wanted to impress them. And I never had much success in that department, but it was always fun to be able to pull out a guitar and play some Thomas Rhett, because that was what was popular when I was in college. And but I'd say I feel like you can tell, and especially like I was saying about Reno, is I wanted to encompass everything that I was as an artist, because the vast variety that Reno has. I mean, it's the all night gambling, the all night liquor, and then it's the outdoors, the adventurous, types of people that reside. And then you got the Reno Rodeo and all the cowboys and the ranchers in Northern Nevada. And then you get, the drunks and the druggies, and, the people that are kind of just stuck in a cycle. And so when we cut the 4 songs in Reno, I really wanted to make sure that not only did I feel like there was a theme of Reno in every song on the record, but also like a different influence of me. Like with First Call, it's a very slow, pedal steel heavy ballad that's sad, and talks about alcoholism, and touches on, I'd rather get a call from somebody saying that they needed help rather than hear that they're not with us anymore. And I really wanted to kind of tie in, men's mental health into that, because, it's starting to be talked about more, and I think it rightfully so. Growing up around, the manly men, it's like, you don't talk about your feelings, and as much as I get, wanting to be a big, strong man, like if you're a big, strong man and you take your own life, like what good does that do for you? And then with Fall Asleep to the Rain, it was kind of a more, I wouldn't say like modern country, but the production was very modernized, with still a lot of pedal steel. And it was kind of the first, I guess, romantic kind of lay you down and love you right song that I'd ever written. And then like Tick Tonk is just a straight up, let's go party at the bar and shoot some pool and get loud and get rowdy. And, I feel like I talked to Joey Hyde, the guy that produced it, and he played this guitar solo for me for the first time. And I was like, dude, that is like 100% Black Crowes. like that's cool to have in a country song.
Oh, fun. Yeah. Really.
You know, it adds a different dynamic that, you know, not a lot of people may be doing. And it kind of soothes my Southern rock rowdiness, and, you know, from the ZZ Top and the Skynyrd. And then with Loved On Lately, it was kind of just more of a traditional, you know, style. Hey, baby, what are you doing? You know, you want me because I want you kind of thing. And it was actually written by Trent Willman and Randall King and Jameson Rogers' wife, Sarah Allison Turner, who's a phenomenal songwriter and artist in herself. She has one of the prettiest voices I've ever heard. And with that song, they literally demoed it the day that I went to record my first EP. And so I had heard it from its, you know, they rewrote it, I guess. They wrote it in 2016, then rewrote it again in 2021 or something like that. And so then they were demoing it, and I heard it, and I was like, dude, this is one of the coolest songs I've ever heard. And I love it. It's like got a classic feel with, you know, some modern lyrics and modern instrumentation, and it's still honky tonk, and it's cool. And a year and a half later, Randall's record came out, and it wasn't on there. And I called him. I said, hey, man, you know, whatever happened to Loved On Lately? And he goes, you want it? I was like, dude, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And so 2 weeks later, I went in and cut it.
Oh.
And it was great. It's one of my favorite songs. It's our show closer every night. So it's one of my favorite songs because the gals seem to like it. And so you can get a crowd pretty riled up at the end of the show with that one.
Perfect. So if people are just starting to listen to you, where would you like to see them? I mean, what do you think the song best introduces your music to them?
That's a hard one. I always hate this question because your songs are like children. And I don't have children yet, so they are really my children.
Sure.
And it's hard to stray away from the songs that I've written, because the songs that I've written are even more so like my babies.
Of course.
And I don't know. It's funny because I listened to the songs I recorded 3 years ago, and it's like my voice has changed so much. I've really developed and figured out who I want to be as an artist and who I am as an artist and the sound that I want for myself. And, you know, early on you struggle with wanting to sound like somebody but not wanting to sound like somebody at the same time. And so to find your lane and to find the kind of song, the kind of tone that really sets you out different from everybody. And it's like as soon as you hear a voice, you know, voices like Alan Jackson and George Strait, as soon as you hear one word, you know exactly who's singing. And this isn't a knock to anybody nowadays, but there's a lot of people that just sound the same. And that's one of the biggest problems that I have with modern country music. And it seems like, you know, as the machine has turned, it's not necessarily about the song anymore, and it's more about the image and how much money you can make somebody, and it sucks because guys like, you know, me, that I don't wear the chain and the high top Nikes and the flat bill hat, and, you know, and if you find success doing that, great, good for you, man. Sure, congratulations. Couldn't be happier for you. Right. And I'll be the first person to tell somebody that. Do I listen to it? No. Does that mean that it's wrong or that it sucks? Absolutely not. I mean, country music encompasses so many subgenres in itself, right? I mean, I used to be the guy that was like, oh man, pop country sucks. They just don't make them like they used to anymore. But since I've been in the industry, I've realized like I feel so. I used to talk so much crap about Thomas Rhett because like early Thomas Rhett was so good, and then, you know, he kind of morphed, and I was like, you know what, this guy just morphed to what the industry wanted and what was the top, and he's successful. He's feeding his family and doing very well for himself. Great job, dude. Like, how can you be mad at that? Yeah, I don't want to wish, you know, failure upon anybody. And it's just I just wish it was more about the song still. But, you know, there's so many guys that are like I said earlier, starting to break through the shells and kind of start to change the mold a little bit. And it's refreshing to see. Yeah, it's it's a good time, I think, for music in general, because like I think you had said earlier, there was this point where,
anything on the radio, I couldn't tell you who it was. Right? It was just like all this, and the topic was so singular. Right?
100%.
It was like you could. I mean. And
you got
now
a hot
with
girl
AI,
in tight jeans in the
some
back seat of a truck.
Yeah,
Yep.
some dirt road thing.
Exactly.
Right? And it sucks because it's fun music.
It's
you know?
great.
You gotta love it, but at the same time, it's like I don't know if this was
It's
this
catchy.
guy or this guy. Yeah,
It's catchy. You tap your. I catch myself tapping my foot to it.
Yep.
And like especially having a girlfriend that likes all that. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting here trying to introduce her to Keith Whitley songs and old Don Williams and it's like, you don't know who Wade Hayes is? No. Mm-hmm. Do you know who Clint Black is? You know who Travis Tritt is? And then you play the song, she's like, oh, I've heard this. Uh-huh. But it's like, it's funny to see, and she's a little bit younger than I am, and so there's definitely a change in, not only the fact that she likes that kind of music, but, she listens to everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of stuck in my ways. I mean, I just started listening to a little bit more of like a lot of my buddies listen to some of the modern rap stuff, mm-hmm. and I like the beats on it, but I wouldn't choose it over, like a 1994 George Strait deep cut.
Well, with that, let's go ahead and get to pour number 2, which is going to be this one. I'm excited for all of them, but this one's super fun. So this is the birthday whiskey, and the way that they did this is so clever. So it's aged for 6.6 years for Alan's 66th birthday. It's 101.7 proof, which is a tribute to Alan's actual birthday, which is October 17th. There was 1,958 bottles bottled nationwide, which is his birth year. Okay, so it's a 66-29.5. It's a mid rye. So we're looking for it's going to be a little bit bold, a little spicier because of the higher rye, but rich and layered with the deep oak, spice, and vanilla.
Love it.
So so this one, when I opened up the thing, I was super. Can I see your glass?
Yeah.
I was really excited to see these, and then try not to spill a drop because we don't want that.
It's alcohol abuse.
It is, and we don't want that.
Love it.
There you go. That doesn't. I mean, it doesn't really scream 29 on the rye, but it's definitely got a. I mean, it smells mellow.
Yeah.
Well, let's dig into that. See
what absolutely.
That does. Immediately, that is fantastic. Good job on that one.
That's really good.
That is fantastic. Yeah, it is definitely a lot more oak on there. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
And there's something on the back end dried fruit or of some sort. I can't tell what that is.
I got a little. I'm really terrible at like picking out individual things, but every now and again there's something that just kind of smacks you right on the taste buds. And it's like, hey. Reminds me of, I took a trip to Tennessee when I was like 10 years old, and we did the Jack Daniels tour.
Oh, did you?
And the guy walked over and he goes, all right, I want you to stand right here for just a second. And he goes, boom, and just barely pops it. He goes, all right, that'll hold you over for the next 11 years till you're 21. He goes, there you go. There's one little sniff of it. And it was just the big containers. And I don't even know if it was like almost like a vat of, I don't even know at this point what it was because it was so long ago. This was 17 years ago. Wow. Or 18 years ago. Oh, God. I just turned 28, and it's like quarter life crisis. But yeah, that's ever since then. I've just loved the smell of whiskey. Mm-hmm. And I don't drink a ton.
No.
I'll have a I'm really bad about just mixing. Like on stage, I like to have like a little like Pendleton 7-Up, you know.
Sure.
Just something
Coats the throat,
something easy and
yeah,
yeah,
keeps you in
and
control.
And in the wintertime, I'll usually have like throat coat tea and honey and lemon with just a little bit of whiskey in there, and we keep various brands. Like I've got some of the Highmark bourbon on the bus right now, and every now and again I'll just add just a little splash of it in there, and it, you know, soothes the throat.
Sure.
Makes it easier to sing.
So with this, with the birthday whiskey, it's about I want to wrap in like legacy and tradition, and we kind of covered some of that. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about like some of your recent work. And you said that you haven't got to cut anything, but you've been writing still.
Yeah, I've been writing my tail off.
Okay, and so can you walk us through what that looks like? What's the songwriting process look for you?
You know, it's kind of changed over the years. I used to force myself to sit down and just write as often as possible, just to improve my skills and to kind of. Scott, my old manager, told me, you know, he goes, Tony Lane will write a song 4 times the same way, and then he'll write it 4 different ways 4 more times. And it's like one of those things that, you know, Tony Lane is an incredible songwriter, and I don't know that a lot of people know who he is because everybody, you know, focused on like the Dean Dillons and a lot of those guys. And there's a gentleman by the name of Tim Nichols who's one of my all-time favorite songwriters, and it's cool to see him coming back into style because he's written like 2 of Zach Top's that I know of, 2 of Zach Top's smash songs.
Oh, how cool!
And we were at Zach's show at the Hui party at NFR this last year, and I took Haley and her friend and my parents, and we were just kind of hanging out. And you know, Zach's a very good friend of mine, and I always joke around and, you know, say that he opened for me, but it was one time in Colorado, and it was by technicality.
Oh,
so I'm gonna hold on to it. My claim to fame. Tell my grandkids someday. And so every time we're kind of around each other, we usually try to play golf and hang out and, you know, drink beer as much as we can. And
cool.
And so we show up to Vegas, and he texts me, and he's like, yeah, I'm playing this thing. And I was like, we're going to try to make it. Like, can you still get tickets? Because those things sell out lightning fast. All the influencers are there, and once the influencers get a lot of the tickets, then the general public snags the rest of them. And he goes, dude, I got you. How many are there? You know, I don't ever want to. I hate asking for tickets because I hate when people ask me for tickets. But at the same time, like, if you're close enough to me and you want tickets, then I've got no problem.
Sure.
And so we show up and get our wristbands, and we're walking. Like, they just keep taking us further and further and further and further and further. We're like going past the Gen Pop, going past the VIP, going past like the super VIP, and then we end up with like the label reps and family and like and so my parents are standing next to this guy, and he's videoing the song, and my mom's like, oh, you know, are you friends with Zach? And he goes, I wrote this song. And it was Tim Nichols.
Wow.
And so I ended up talking to him a little bit, and I was like, dude, this is one of my favorite songwriters ever. I mean, I'm pretty sure, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he wrote Live Like You Were Dying, Tim McGraw, which is one of my all-time favorite songs. And I really hope I'm not wrong on that, because that'd be embarrassing. But I'm pretty good at my songwriter knowledge. But for me personally, writing songs is more of just like, if I get an idea, I jot it down. I could get inspiration from something that I hear on the radio. Like, I wrote a song. I heard a line in a Parker McCollum song, and I was like, there needs to be a whole song about that line right there. And so I wrote it. Or, you know, I got dropped from my publishing deal last July, and I was, you know, for the last 2.5 years, I was in a room with, you know, guys like Mark Irwin that wrote Here in the Real World, and just legends of the songwriting community. And I think it kind of overspoiled me in a way that I forgot to still write by myself. So last July, I wrote the first song that I'd written by myself in like 2.5, 3 years. And then I kind of just stopped and kind of took a break to reset. and then started really writing again in October, November. And I mean, I remember sitting on my bed one night and I was like, man, I just need to write a song like out of the blue. I don't know where I'm going to find inspiration from. And I went and got in the shower and was getting ready for bed. And in the shower, I was like, Out of the Blue is kind of a pretty cool title. And I kind of started relating it to, you know, what I was going through in my personal life at the time. And I was in a long relationship for a while and it didn't work out. And I was like, man, I'm done dating. Mm-hmm. I'm not dating anybody for at least a year, at least 2 years, maybe. I'm going to put my head down and focus everything that I have into the music. And then when I got dropped, it was kind of like, well, is this still for me? I don't know. And I continued to, you know, push through the bad days. And late last July, I was playing a private show and saw this good-looking gal, and I kind of wanted to find out who the heck she was, and ended up meeting her dad that night, and he convinced her to get my phone number. And it took me about 3.5 months of asking her. You know, we kind of just started chatting as friends for a while, because I didn't want to date anybody. She didn't want to date anybody. And then, you know, as we got into the later part of the year, you know, we went to dinner and started hanging out, and it's like, man, this kind of came out of the blue. And so, you know, it ended up blossoming into the relationship that it is now. And I always said that I wasn't going to write a song about anybody ever again, because it's just too hard to play songs about somebody if you break up or, you know, whatever. Yeah, and so I was like, I'm done doing that. And then she came out of the blue, and so did the song. And I think I wrote it in like 30 minutes or something crazy like that. It just popped. But the other songs take 6 hours, you know?
So when you're writing your lyric first, and then you're going to come back and figure out instrumental.
Yeah, every now and again. Sometimes like I'll just have like a little guitar riff or something stuck in my head that, you know, it's nothing crazy, because again, not a great guitar player. But I get something stuck in my head that I'm just sitting around noodling one day, and I'm like, oh, that sounded kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, other days I'm writing a bunch of lyrics down and then finding a melody for them, or I've got a melody in my head, and then I'm gonna find where that sits on the neck of the guitar, and then find the words to go along with it. So I've got just countless unfinished notes in my phone of song titles or song ideas, or 3 lines or 3/4 of a song. You know, there's probably 500 of those notes. And I'd love to go finish every one of them. Will I ever? I don't know. But I've gone back now and kind of rewritten a lot of the songs that I started early on, and been like, what was I thinking that this was decent? And so then I'll rewrite it and turn it into something, and I'm like, okay, this is actually a lot better.
And I think it goes back, if you take something that like in the same boat, I used to write, right? I used to pretend I would write, but go back and read what I had written. I'm like, what the hell was that? You know, it's disgusting. And I'm so glad that I never tried to put that out to anybody, like, you should try to make something of this or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
I'm glad nobody ever saw it. But having the ideas, though, 'cause like you're saying, you can take and pick and choose those, you know, those lines, you know, this just 3 words or whatever. It's just like that would just, and build something off of that.
Yeah.
That's super cool that you do that. That's awesome.
And there's always a way to beat the word that you have. And so, like, I mean, I know that this line works, but can I find a better line? Absolutely. And so then I'll sit and try to find a better line, or try to find a better hook, or try to find a better way to get to the hook, or to spin it around to something completely different with the same idea. And so there's a number of songs that I'm extremely excited about. And, like, you know, if anybody's got $150,000 laying around that they want to hear some badass tunes, I'm happy to go record them for you. But I'm really excited about it, man. There's probably 5 or 6 that I'm dying to have out there. And we're playing most of them in the live show, just to kind of, because every time I write something new, I send it to the band, and we try to learn it as quickly as possible and put together some sort of arrangement for it. And it always ends up changing because the studio band is not my live band.
Sure.
Right? I use the same guys in Nashville that Luke Combs and Cody Johnson. And there's a number of studio cats that, select few that are the best of the best. And, being able to work with those guys is a treat. And to have, it's amazing what they do. I mean, I can play them a song that's just me and a guitar, and they'll turn it into a full song that you could hear on the radio in 45 minutes.
So neat. That's so
It's
cool.
crazy.
It's so cool that people, and I love it with anything when people are truly dedicated, devoted, and an expert in their craft. And I think
100%.
that is no exception. To see people like they can just go hear it once, like, oh yeah, watch this, and then just bam, this beautiful thing. Yeah, that is so cool.
I mean, with my song, One of Those, we had it like a legit demo done because it was written by Trent Willman and Adam Yarger, and Trent played it for me, and I was like, yeah, this is a sick song. It's a song about going out and, it's one of those beer joints that everybody's got in their town, that everybody likes to go hang out at. Like my truck knows exactly where I want to go when I get in it after a long day at work, and it's just, we walked in the studio and we all met in the like the board room, which is where all the the board and everything is for not the actual studio recording area,
mixers,
but
and
where all
that.
the mixing equipment is. And I remember Trent was like, all right, hey, so this is a song, plays it once for him, gives him the chart, which is basically just a diagram of how the song is played in the Nashville number system. So it's like each key has 7 notes. So okay, we're playing in the key of G, the notes are 1, 4, 5, and then you've got like a weird 2 minor here, and then there's like different accents for like if you're decrescendoing, crescendoing, or whatever, and or different hits or stops or whatever it is. And he goes, all right, this is kind of like a Luke Combs "Beer Never Broke My Heart" feel, or that kind of thing. And then they take the song that they heard the demo on that sounds nothing like the finished product, and you get a whole song.
Man, so
it's
cool.
crazy.
That's so cool.
I mean, like when we get done today, I'll play you a couple of like songs I got pitched that ended up getting cut by other artists, or or I guess really just songs that I have that I have the demos for that we did first before we went and recorded the actual songs. It's like Speed of Neon Light sounds nothing like the demo that I got pitched.
Oh.
And the guy that wrote it, one of the guys that wrote it, Clint Daniels, told Trent and I, he just said, hey, I came up with this other guitar riff for this song like 6 months after we wrote it, like makes it a little more driving. Do you want to hear it? And so that's when you hear the down, 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 down. That's where that comes from. And it was just this, he just said, hey, you might like this better. And we wanted to kind of make it more energetic and driving, because it was originally kind of a slow ballad type song.
Very cool. I think the arts are cool anyways. I mean, like I said, it's cool that a lot of and this is another Nashville story, but the artists that I was talking to, they're like playing all this stuff that the essentially the top 10 hit list of, on Broadway, the top 10 hit list at the time, and it was like Tennessee Whiskey and like everything around that time, right? And it was like everybody just wants to hear these 10 songs, and
yes.
That's like all you had to do, and you go talk to them, like, actually I'm a metal drummer or something like that, right? And I'll never forget the bartender at Johnny Cash's. She was super cool, and she's like, she backs, on her spare time, backs country artists that are playing on Broadway.
Yeah.
But then she has this really badass metal band that she's out there slaying,
cool.
And so it was neat because the diversity and the ability of these artists to, me personally would be stuck on a genre, and like that's all I can really do. Like my ceiling is very low, but these guys can, come in from all different, all over the the entire globe as far as genres and play anything, and just looking at the sheet music, and just be like,
Yeah.
I got this.
It's crazy.
So cool.
Did you ever go to Robert's Western World when you were in Nashville?
Yes. Yeah, we did.
It's the only spot in town you'll hear steel guitar. Only spot on Broadway you'll hear steel guitar. And my favorite part about Robert's is they got the recession special. $6, you get a PBR, bag of Lay's potato chips, a moon pie, and a fried bologna sandwich.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, we ended up there. We met some really cool friends from Jersey, and they took us there.
That's my favorite spot.
That was cool.
I love Robert's Western World, man.
What? So, in your music career, what do you celebrate as success?
There's different, kind of different lanes that I will celebrate. There's 3 parts to my business. There's the touring side, there's the recording side, and there's the songwriting side. And I mean, I'll celebrate, on a touring side, if we go to a new market and we sell more tickets than we anticipated, that's a win. That's a huge win. We go a whole month without having to fix something on the bus, that's a win.
Absolutely.
On the recording side is we have I have a song that passes X amount of streams, or a record that encompasses X amount of streams. That's a win. More monthly listeners every month. That's a win. And we try to celebrate the little ones and the big ones, because without the little ones, the big ones don't come.
100%.
And just I'll celebrate a good show, a good show. That you have good shows and bad shows, and you can tell right when you get done if it was whatever.
Yeah.
And the boys and I are usually pretty fired up if we all feel like it was a good show. I mean, everybody, I always say to keep the women and children out of the backstage area when we come off, because there's usually some profanity of excitement. And it's, man, we're fired up.
Do you ever start a show and just go, shit, like I'm not there. Like something is amiss.
Yeah, you have them.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has off days. And whether, like, sometimes I don't feel like I'm there vocally, or maybe sometimes I don't feel like the energy is there on my part, and sometimes the energy is not there in the crowd. And it's really hard to play to a flat crowd. And I mean, you can be riled up as all get out and be having the time of your life on stage, and it's not the same. Like that's the hard part about playing like seated shows. Like seated shows are always pretty difficult because you're having to create the energy and you're not having anything to bounce back off of. But like recently in Tucson last month with when we were with Braxton Keith, the crowd was just on one.
Rowdy.
It was a sold out theater, and they had all the seats taken out, and so it was one of these old school theaters that's sloped. And so, seeing a show there, your calves freaking burn by the end of the show. But it's cool because unlike a flat surface, people get lost in lights or people get lost standing behind somebody. But like that show, you could see every person in that freaking crowd.
That's cool.
And you could see the look on everybody's face and how much fun they were having. And then I have more fun. Because it's like, oh, these people are digging it. All right, let's take it up a little higher. Let's pop it up a little more. And we get a little rowdier, and it makes me want to run around and jump off of stuff, and yell back at them, and it's just fun. It's way more fun that way.
Yeah, that's super cool.
But it's a cool experience. I mean, I think that the bad shows make the good shows that much better.
Does it take you to get back in the groove after a bad show? I mean, are you able to just, be pretty resilient and just bounce right back? Or
Yeah, we usually bounce back pretty quick.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the next night is like if we feel, and thank goodness that if the crowd still had a blast and we didn't totally ruin it and play that poorly. Which that's happened too. I mean, there's been some shows like, dude, we had no business being on that stage tonight. Like that was terrible.
But like you said, we all have bad days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's usually, it makes you, if you have a bad show, it makes you want to make the next one that much better. And it's like, you airball a shot, you're going to try and make that shot 100 times more with nothing but net. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing.
Yep. I can tell you from personal experience just doing this podcast. I mean, there's been times where in the early days, we go through an entire show and I forgot to hit record on the camera, or the microphone wasn't turned on, or wasn't even plugged in this one time, right? So we do it, we go through, and with some of the shows, I mean, I've learned this season especially to be a little bit more responsible, but there's been some ones that got completely out of hand, and
sure.
And you can't, like, if you lose that authenticity of the first go around, like, you can't recreate that energy, a lot of the times. And so it's pushes me to make sure that I got my shit together prior to you sitting down in that seat, to make sure that when we get done here, that I have something that really tells your story, and that's
sure.
That's my favorite part about this. It's not that I have a lot of interesting things to say, it's that the people that sit in that seat do. And so it's cool because it makes it that much more humbling when we turn out a good show.
Absolutely.
And then people actually go, what, that, the sound quality was there, and all the things that would deter people. I mean, people are very unforgiving with poor
100%.
audio, right? And so
100%.
All about that. So very cool.
It's a cool little, it's a cool little world to live in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I bet.
Like I said, it's not easy in any way, but I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
100%.
And, to go out and basically lay my heart wide open in front of, 500 to 2,000 people on a nightly basis is pretty raw.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's more about the raw emotion and not just singing the song, but performing the song, right? And it took me a while to realize that, because I'd get up there and I'd sing George Strait style, baby, just staying in the same spot. And then I learned how to entertain. And then when you learn how to entertain, it's more fun for everybody.
Sure.
More fun for the band, more fun for me, more fun for the crowd, more fun for Joe Schmo in the back of the room that's never seen me before. And it's like, well, this guy's having a blast, so I'm having a blast.
Makes a big difference.
It does.
Yeah. With that, let's move on to pour number 3.
Got it.
Which is going to be our single barrel, 5.5 year age statement at 115 proof. So yeah, this is straight from the barrel. It's essentially an elevated version of the small batch. So we're make sure that we got. Let's make sure we got the right. There's a small batch. Okay. So we're going to single barrel. All right. So yeah. So when I open up this one, this is what we were talking about, I think, in the beginning. This one should be.
You got the Dr. Pepper to clear the palate here.
That's a single barrel. That's what I said. Okay. I'll make sure I got it. So basically what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of, I was trying to figure out which best way to tell your story, right? And I was like, did we just go just keep ramping up to the back end? And ultimately that's what I decided. So we'll finish with the small batch.
Love it.
What is the 91 proof? Hold on. That might not be right. Okay, that's what we're doing. No, we're going like this because I wanted this to be our So we wanted this to be our kind of our mid-range high point. Really let that tell the story, as we get into the. Sorry, I was kind of going back and forth the best way to do this one because it's this is not.
That's hot.
Been I haven't done this before on the show where we've tried this much, so trying to be responsible and still get the. Oh, I think we're going to like this one. Okay, so.
Spicy.
115 proof, uncut, bold, expressive, straight from the barrel. So yeah, elevated version of their 4-year small batch. We're going to deep oak, warm vanilla, and a touch of rye. And I think it'll be probably, I don't have, unfortunately with this one, I didn't get the, yeah, sorry. Okay. So yeah, so we're just going to go in this one kind of blind.
Love it.
And hopefully.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Robbie, that's the business. What you got on that one? Well, that is fantastic. Not only is it fantastic, but it has this really cool Alan Jackson sticker that's kind of over the label, which is super neat. Let's see. Okay, on this one, let me see.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Yeah, so he's got an image defined by an iconic music career, a career composed of timeless songs about life, love, and heartache by a man of integrity with a signature look. Silverbelly, the color of the iconic cowboy hat, premium spirit distilled exclusively for the hand-selected by Alan Jackson. So every detail of the Silverbelly whiskey has been carefully crafted to create a brand worthy of celebrating a career and countless memories for all to enjoy. I like this one. This so far has been my favorite. Yeah,
I think so far I like this birthday bourbon.
The birthday,
that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
That one's fun too. And like I said, I think that it's got a lot of complexity because of the 25% rye. I think that one is fun. That is a fun pour.
There's a joke kind of going around the internet right now that Zach Top is the long lost son of Alan Jackson.
Oh,
and they were like laying his picture over Alan's, and they're like, it's uncanny. And somebody had dug into this research that was like, well, Zach Top was born in September of '97. Alan Jackson was in Everett, Washington, playing a show, 9 months prior to that.
Oh, that's funny.
Did his mama sneak off? And but Zach started playing into it, and he's doing a run of shows with Alan. So a couple weeks ago, he was doing an interview, and they were like, so, are you really his son?
The rumor's true.
He goes, I don't know. My parents won't tell me anything about it, so I'm going to have to ask him myself when I see him for the first show next week. And, it was great.
That is funny.
Funny.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that this, with the Alan Jackson thing, I think that it's really cool that it worked out the way that it did. I bought this because I've tried other artists' whiskeys, and I know that a lot of it's very gimmicky, and I feel like I did have my reservations coming into this, but I'm so glad that we got to do this. And Robbie, thanks again. I mean, I think that so far this has been fantastic. Lineup has been phenomenal. Like I said, I don't know how readily available this is as far as shipping and stuff like that, but I'll let the website and Robbie do all that stuff on the social media, because that's his baby. So, but like I said, it's an honor to have this stuff on the shelf, and so thank you for sending this stuff out, Robbie. I appreciate that.
Love it.
With that, so as we're going into this, the more raw, uncut, I want to talk about you and the music scene, right? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but how do you feel you distinguish yourself from the other artists, the emerging artists or current artists out there right now?
Man, I'm just a throwback kid from the Sierra Nevadas. I mean, like I said, everybody thinks that, I'm from Texas because I run around with the Texas guys. But I'm so proud to be born in Reno and, raised in the beautiful, beautiful Sierra Nevada mountains. And it's a shame that the West doesn't get as much credit, because it's still the Wild West. Mm-hmm. I mean, people don't realize that in the state of Nevada that it is still legal to hang somebody for cattle rustling.
We don't do it enough.
We don't.
Honest, yeah.
And people just group us into the California, the Southern California mentality of beaches, and people don't realize that Nevada has the largest amount of public lands of any state in the United States. Mm-hmm. And for the rich heritage of Western life that Nevada has, there's it's like, oh, we didn't think there could be a country singer from Nevada. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, first of all, it's Nevada. Mm-hmm. Second of all, buddy, come get you some. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at Reno Rodeo, and you look at, all of the rodeo world that encompasses Northern Nevada. I mean, there's ton of ranches down here, a ton of ranches in, eastern Nevada, central Nevada. And they don't give enough credit. And, they don't think that there's cowboys outside of Texas. There's cowboys in California, buddy.
That's right.
Yeah. And I think the number one thing that distinguishes me is that nobody has had the life that I've had. I've lived 8 lives in one, I feel like. And I'm very fortunate at, not even 30 years old that, I've been to a lot of places that a lot of people will never see. I've done a lot of things that a lot of people will never do. And I still choose to play country music. I still choose to write country songs. I write about my experiences. Country music is about storytelling. I've got some pretty cool stories that I'd love to share. I just had to figure out how to write them first. But, it's... And I hate to steal the term because I got a buddy in Texas that likes to use this, but I'm a little more rocky tonk than honky tonk. It's the 90s country, but with a modern twist. It's the feels and the sounds and the aura of 90s country.
Love that.
But I like to do a little more rocking. I like to have a loud
that's
guitar.
That Skinner.
I like to have a loud guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just started playing some electric guitar on some songs for the full show, and it's pretty cool. But man, there's to me, pedal steel is such a large part of country music, and I didn't want to have a band without a pedal steel. And my pedal steel player Dalton picked it up from nothing 4 years ago, and he's doing a fantastic job on it. But I want everybody to hear. My goal is for everybody to hear my influences in my music, because I wouldn't be the artist I am without those influences. I wouldn't have, I wouldn't be able to pick out the sounds that I want. Like, I feel completely confident right now that I could go in the studio tomorrow without, a regular producer and get the songs that I want, get the feel that I want. And it's nice having a producer that I can tell my thoughts to, and he can put it in a language that's going to get the studio guys to do that. But, I feel like I've been around it enough now that that's something I want to do someday. When my career's coming to a close, and I would love to become a producer. I feel like when I write songs, I think of that side of things in addition to, I'm always thinking about, oh, this would sound cool with this over the top of it, or this underneath it, or this doing a twin harmony on this thing, or So it's a passion more than anything, and I'm just lucky that I get to do it for a living, or try to do it for a living.
That's right. Yeah, and it's one of those things, like you said, that it takes time and it takes a break, and it's one of those things that if it was easy, like you said earlier, everyone would be doing it. As long as you got to be consistent and you got to stick with it. People will find you. And it's, as a really shitty content creator, it's like I notice when I don't post for a few days, in the views. It's like it's one of those things that, and that being the major platform for anybody to find you right now is social media, and how hard that makes it, and with everybody trying to do the same thing. So,
and like for me, I started posting every day at the same time, every single day for like a month, and my views went down. So now I've kind of been, I read somewhere online that you can do like a hard algorithm reset, and like not post, not interact, not do anything for like, I think it was something like 39 days. Like just some weird number. And I'm like, you know what? At this point, I'll try freaking anything, man. Yeah. I'll try anything. Yeah. So now I've been just like making videos in my bedroom, stacking up cover songs, stacking up songs I've written, stacking up whatever I can to post. And then I'm just going to dump it all again.
Have you ever had a moment when you're out on stage and you look out on the crowd and you go, holy shit, this is me?
100%. I'm trying to think about it because a lot of the shows kind of blend together now.
Yeah.
There's a lot that do stick out, But there's a lot of them that it's like, did that happen in this city or this city? Mm-hmm. And, when you're playing 3 shows a weekend, 3 weekends out of the month, it's like, dude, where are we again?
You hear that all the time when they come in, like, yeah, thank you, Georgia or Atlanta. And they're like, no, you're not in Atlanta.
You're not in Atlanta. Well, there's my steel player Dalton used to work for a production company, and I guess they rolled in somewhere off of a storm or something, and Easton Corbin was the artist, and he ran up to Dalton, and Dalton goes, this was like the coolest thing that's ever happened to me before. I started playing music, and he was like, what city are we in again? And he goes, Minot, North Dakota. What's up, Minot, North Dakota? How's it going? That kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, dude, I have never felt that on a more relatable level. And like, a couple months ago, we were somewhere. I was like, dude, where are we tonight? And because you roll into the city and you're looking around, but then as soon as you go on stage, it's like, wait, what show is this?
Yeah.
And I'm a lot better at remembering the venue names than I am at the city they're in.
Oh.
And like, I could describe to you, like, if you came up with a list of every venue that I've ever played, I could tell you what's on the wall. I could tell you what's on the ceiling. I could tell you how their bar was laid out. I could tell you if they had good food or not.
Just not where it was.
Just not where it was. I could give you an idea, a general vicinity, because I tend to group everything in my head by timelines. Like, I could tell you the first 6 shows that I ever played with Randall King. Like, we did Kearney, Nebraska, Joe's Honky Tonk. We had an off day because he was playing the Grizzly Rose in Denver. And then we went to the Cowboy Saloon in Laramie, Wyoming. And then the second run that we did with them, I guess this is the first 5 shows, but the second run we did with them was September 2021. And we did Grand Junction, Colorado. We did Ogden, Utah.
Oh.
And shoot, maybe I can't. Dude, that was 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's a long time. I don't remember yesterday.
Maybe we only did 2 shows. No. Maybe we did Colorado Springs. No, we didn't. That's what it was. It was Ogden, Grand Junction, Fort Collins, Colorado.
There you go.
But it was Ogden, Fort Collins, Grand Junction. It's the order that was in. And I was the only one out of my band and crew and his band and crew that got the Rona after the trip.
You know what? It makes you stronger. Yeah. That's all it did.
Because I was the one touching the damn gas pumps. Fueling up the plumber van, baby.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody's got to. I'll tell you what, that whole thing, the whole time is just such a weird...
It's a weird one. We were the first industry to go and the last industry to come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty wild.
I mean, especially out here, we didn't get back to tour until May of 21. We were off from shows. I mean, we played like the Elko Stampede or Silver State Stampede in Elko in July of 2020 because it was outdoors and they could get away with it.
And some of the counties, I mean, they really did hold out. I mean, as far as the officials, I mean, they did a great job. And when you start getting out into eastern and central Nevada, I mean, they did a great job. I think Nye never even batted an eye.
That's how my parents...
They're like, no, we're not doing anything. And then Tell was like, they're getting big pressure from the state, and they're like, come find us.
Yeah.
I mean, even though where Nye County is.
Yeah, you know where Nye County is? No. My parents live in north central Idaho, and it was the same thing. They have a town of like, I don't know, 3,000 people. And they never change anything.
And I want to take an opportunity to give, so Douglas County they did a good job for the most part, but then they got really bitchy. It scared a lot of businesses off. There was one business in particular was the only place in Douglas County that was still like double talls, didn't give a shit.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Brian over at Cooked. I mean, he was so badass, and it was the only place of gathering that didn't require a mask. He was like just packed every single night because it was the only place people can come out and socialize. And it was like, I think that I would assume that it worked out that he was getting fined every day by the county, and he's just like, it's
I'm paying for itself.
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't know that for certain, but I think you walk
or close to
shoulder to shoulder, and it was
great.
It was pretty cool.
Great, man.
Yeah. So he got us through a hard time here in the county. So Brian, thank you. That was awesome. All right, I don't know where you're at. I don't want to rush you because I don't want to make this. I'm not trying to. But,
whatever you want to do, man.
Yeah.
I'd hate to slam it because it tastes so good.
This is probably.
But if you want to get to the next one,
no,
this tastes. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never tried Silverbelly, and I'm really glad that I did because this is phenomenal stuff.
Yeah,
really good stuff.
I'm a firm believer. Like I said, it's the smaller production line of these smaller bottles. Obviously, I think the small batch will be able to find. I don't know if they're doing one every year or not, but
I would love to know when they did this one.
You know what?
But I love that they have the chart on here.
Yeah, it's very cool. Huh?
That's really cool.
They did a really good job with that. I mean,
the branding's
really
phenomenal.
Fun, yeah. And Robbie, I don't know how much you had to do with that, but good job to you and your crew.
Good on you, Mr. Robbie. Would love to have you at a show sometime. So
there you go.
Reach out to me. We'd love to have you.
That'd be great.
I don't know when we're going to come out to whatever neck of the woods you're in, but let me know.
And I guess I could have done a little bit more work on the actual distillery, but I was focused on the juice, which
it's the important part.
It is, and I think, like I said, I think that the idea here is to get a better idea of what the brand is doing. Because when I saw this here in the real world, there was options on the website, and so I try to stay within my means as far as a monthly budget as far as whiskey for the show.
Yeah,
and this is the one that kept us in that one. And so I went there, and like I said, Robbie was fantastic, and just like I got some stuff that you're gonna love, and did not disappoint.
No, absolutely not. I still think the birthday bourbon is my favorite.
Mm-hmm. That is a lot of fun.
It's a really neat flavor profile.
Yes. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it's going to the internet and Robbie provided me with a spec sheet and some information on it, and it's unfortunately he's going to do a better job with this than I can. And like we had talked about earlier, I mean, nosing and tasting, I'm not that good at it. Troy, that's where Troy comes in because he's very good at that.
Yeah.
So, just like I said, I mean, it is.
When I was distilling, the master distiller Felicia taught me this trick to get the flavor, to get the heat out of the way, so you get the flavor really good. And we do it with the white lightning that comes out of the still, and with the straight shine, because like you can do it with bourbon, but I don't feel like you get the full flavor profile unless you actually sip it. But like it's called like wetting your whistle.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to like purse your lips together and let it fall onto your lips, and then like slowly drag your tongue through it, and then you get the flavor without the heat and the burn. It's weird. Like I never thought about it.
No.
And then like just now I was like, oh, you know what? I remember this.
Well, tell me if it works. I mean,
I know I need to.
Yeah, I know that in Troy's whiskey snobs classes, and one of the things is with the ethanol on the top of the glass, as you're putting it in your mouth,
exhale.
It
works. Yes.
The ethanol's out. So, yeah, I mean that's also a great tip. Everybody, feel free to give us your input on that. Yeah, that is fantastic. Okay, so with that being said, to try to we'll work our way into the small batch, but like I said, I don't want to rush you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's take our time on this because this is, like I said, this is the good stuff. And
I fogged it up.
You did. Too much pursing.
Well, no, I thought about it. I was trying to really just get into my Alan Jackson feel.
Mm-hmm. How'd it go?
We fogged up the windows in my old truck.
All right, good.
Well, we fogged up the windows in my old Chevy.
Mm-hmm.
I was willing, but she wasn't ready.
Let's go. Okay, so with this, and we'll kind of we'll start into the conversation on this last one. But like I said, I was trying to do like sections, and this is not really working. But as we get into the last pour, what is the future of Jake Jacobson? What does that look like to you?
A whole lot of honky tonk.
Good.
A whole lot of honky tonk, and busting my tail and getting this thing to where I really want it to be. And I'm actually, and I hate to brag about her even more, But I'd say like the last 6 or so months have been pretty difficult on me. Just being straight up. I mean, it's been a tough last 10 months since I got dropped, and I had to basically restart everything. And the last 6 months in particular have been pretty tough. We haven't had a whole lot of shows. I went through a change over my booking agencies. I went from one to another, and we've had some lulls. And but I think the coolest thing about it is, for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm at rock bottom, and I've hit rock bottom, and now I'm starting to, ascend from the ashes.
Like the phoenix. Yeah.
And I owe a lot of that to my parents, and my grandparents. I lost my grandpa at the beginning of March. And a lot of people don't know this, but I've been Jake since I was born, but that's not the name on my birth certificate. I'm actually named Ronald after my dad and my grandpa. I'm the third, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I always said that when my grandpa Ron died, I was going to start going by Ron, but I've kind of set myself up to be Jake the rest of my life now that I've got a career made out of it. But losing my grandpa was probably the number one thing that I was dreading over my whole life. I mean, I lived next to him growing up, and he was my Superman, 100%. And last May, we played at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joe Nichols. And my grandma and grandpa had just moved from their house in the town that I grew up in to Gardnerville, to the assisted living place. And my aunts and uncles and cousins they lived down here. My cousins grew up here in Gardnerville and Minden, and they were able to come to the show and stand side stage for my show. And I kind of knew that was going to be the last time that my grandpa saw me play. And it kind of, brought a little bit of peace to it in a way. And, burying him early last month was like, I felt like I had so much more to do. It was I wouldn't say like a moment of reckoning, but like, I want to do it because he told me I could do it. And my parents told me I could do it. And like, there's been days in, the last 6 months that I've been like, I can't do this anymore. And then when Haley came along, she told me, I never forget this. She told me, everybody else believes in you. You need to start believing in yourself. And I tell that story to anybody who's going to listen to it, because Lord knows that it is not easy to date a musician, especially a touring one. And she likes being on the road, so that's cool to get to bring her out. I felt bad because I was like, man, we got just a bunch of bunks on this bus. I can't make a woman that's this good to me sleep in a dang bunk. So I built a bed out in the back lounge that folds out into the couches, and with a mattress topper and everything for when she comes out. And but man, I really do feel like it's a new beginning for us. I feel like we've had time to think about it, to reset, to learn from the previous mistakes, and to figure out what's going to work moving forward. And I'm writing the best songs of my life right now. I truly don't think that I've written anything better. And they're just kind of popping out right now. I've gotten 5 or 6 in the last 8 months that I would say are definitely up there. 3 or 4 of them are probably in the conversation of the best songs I've ever written.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're playing a lot of them in the live show. Ideally, I would like to have an 8 to 10 song album by the end of the summer. The reality of that is, of that happening, the chances of that happening are very slim. But it's not going to deter me from continuing down down the path that I'm searching for. So we're really just trying to stay busy on the road and work our tails off and play the best show we've ever played each night and the night after it.
Good.
And beat the one before.
That's awesome.
That's what it's about. I mean, without the fans, we'd have nothing. And without our families, we'd have nothing. And without each other, we've had nothing. So my band is a large piece of my life, and I love all those guys. I mean, you live on a bus with somebody for the last 3 years, you get to know them pretty good. Pretty good.
I know, I can only imagine.
All the quirks, all the weird shit that somebody does, you figure it out.
Without shifting focus too far, we are the Bourbon and Ballistics podcast, and so you did talk about getting out on the 9mm. Earlier. I did want to, because we have just a little bit of time left.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Jake and the outdoors and what that looks like. So, you shoot.
I do.
You hunt.
I do.
Okay. What's your background on that? How did that all come about?
So I grew up in Plumas County, state of Jefferson. And, growing up in Plumas County, you're surrounded by the outdoors. You're literally, Lake Davis sits right over the top of Portola. And I'm
so pretty up there.
2015 graduate of Portola High School. And, I used to go out and, as a kid, pop birds with a BB gun with my cousin. And, my mom would get after me for it. And I loved camping and fishing. And I didn't really get too into hunting until I'd say about 7-8 years ago when I was 21.
Okay.
One of my best buddies, that's actually my roommate, my dad never was a hunter. I would love to say that I grew up hunting, but I didn't. And my grandpa on my mom's side, her stepdad was a massive hunter. And so I learned to shoot from him in Montana. And ever since, I don't know, I was probably 8-9 years old, I just loved the focus aspect that it took to hit a target. And the breathing patterns and just the intensity, because I'm a very intense guy, and to be able to channel all of your focus into one thing and one pull of a trigger it's cool to me. And so I started hunting, I'd say about 7-8 years ago, and it's 2021. 4 years ago, I decided that I was or 3 years ago, I decided I was going to put in for tags finally. Because I was like, you know what? I never have time for it. I'm going to block out 2 weeks in October with my agent so that I can go hunt. And I drew a tag. The third year that I put in, it was the first 3 years that I put in, I didn't get anything. And so when I finally drew one, I was like, I am blocking out 2 weeks. I'm spending those 2 weeks in the woods. Do not call me. Do not text me. I will be gone. And I think I drew area 10. And so we went out to Ely. Had like whatever the second week of October, or second 2 weeks of October, 106 to 110, and then you get like 112, I think, with that tag. I can't remember. It's been a while. And I went out there with one of my old guitar players named Cody, and he was like massive into hunting and firearms, and he did like the competition pistol stuff and
cool.
Built guns and everything. And so we went out there and spent 6 days in Ely. I think we started out kind of just west of the what is that, the Cherry Ridge Range. And saw nothing but does. And then like day 4, I think we finally got on a buck scent and sat and waited for him all damn day, and he never showed up. So then we kind of started working our way west back to, the western edge of that tag, and went up and didn't see anything. And the last day, this guy was like, "Oh man, they pushed out of here 6 days ago." And it's like, shit.
Yeah.
So I had tag soup, and we've been, thankfully so busy that I didn't put in this year, just because I'm expecting October to be pretty stout for us.
Good.
Maybe early November we might have an overseas trip. I'm not sure. Might be pretty cool. I got to talk to my buddy about it a little bit more. But I would love. I actually met Remy Warren 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I don't know. We were at a Jordan Davis concert at the Grand Sierra, and we were all hanging out backstage and talking to Jordan. And Jordan was talking to one of my other buddies, and I kind of turned and I was like, you kind of look familiar. And I'm trying to figure out where I know this guy from. And I'm like, shit, I've seen him on TV, because I watch Meat Eater all the time, and I'm a big fan of like everything that Ranella does. And I got a lot of buddies that hunt on those big game properties in Texas. And my brother used to work for Boulder Creek Outfitters in north central Idaho, and he was kind of their ranch manager in a way. And so they have Donald Trump Jr. and Co Wetzel and Hannah Barron, all these big personalities come out and do their elk hunts, because they get such freaking massive elk up there in Hell's Canyon. And so, if you ever want to go hunt an elk hunt, guided elk hunt in north central Idaho, that's Boulder Creek Outfitters. That's your guy. And I think they had like a number 2 in the world cat up there too.
Oh, really?
Which is pretty cool. But yeah, man, I just started basically how I got into hunting was just going out and popping coyotes with a 22-250 or a little AR build that my roommate had, and I went and I had like a gun given to me when I was younger, and I never really shot it, and I did some duck hunting in college and my late 19, 20, 21 years, and but I didn't really get into the big game side until 21, 22, and I would like to do it a lot more if I had the time for it.
Yeah, you're in a unique position. Yeah. I think that does make it tough.
It's cool, man. I mean, like, I would love to just go, and I am not like the hiking kind of guy. I hate hiking. But if I'm hiking to go shoot something, I'm all for it.
That makes sense.
Like, I feel bad because he's like, hey, he likes to go on walks or, on a hike somewhere. I'm like, I just have no desire. I've got no desire to do it. I'll do it, but it's not something that I would choose to do. Like, one of my best buddies from high school is like, man, I just love hiking. I want to go hiking here, hiking there. And I'm like, dude, that is all for you. More power to you. I will not be joining you.
One less person on the trail.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. I will be sitting in the cabin with a beer and a glass of bourbon, and I'll see you in 7 hours.
So this is a small batch that you're getting into.
I like this a lot.
Yeah. Good. So it's basically just a 4-year, noted for its smooth balance, a solid daily sipper. A lot of, oh God, yeah, that smells good.
It smells really good. Oh, I did it early.
That's okay.
I did it early.
That's okay. You got excited, and I love talking about that. That's fine.
Oh, that's good stuff. I get a lot of vanilla.
It is.
I get a lot of vanilla there.
Yeah, this is
It's very strong.
a lot of the barrel on this one. Very rich, complex, very fun.
Oh man, that's phenomenal.
That's a fantastic final pour for the show.
I still think the birthday.
Yeah, you know
I
what?
still think the birthday.
I don't think you could be wrong. I don't think there's a possibility.
That's
because
good.
it's fantastic stuff.
And
like I
at
said, a lot
almost
put into it.
102. That's really good.
It's got the business you need, the flavors, the profiles to get you there.
So the date on this was 4/7.
Mm-hmm.
I am a 4/17.
Oh.
97
See,
model.
all this it's all tying in.
It's tying in fantastic. I know we've been trying to do this for a while.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we finally narrowed it down.
Yes, I saw you were home, and I was like, let's go ahead and just get this thing.
I'm home for another week.
Yeah.
It's great.
Fantastic.
Play a lot of golf. I started playing on the dang US Am Tour, for the wannabes. Mm-hmm. And I went and played the season opener last weekend. And the day before, I went and played like a little practice round action,
Yeah.
Shot 76. Played phenomenal. Really well.
Nice day.
Tournament day comes. I can't buy a fairway. I shoot 92. It's terrible. Terrible. It was embarrassing. I really didn't think in like the last 2.5 years that I'd shot over 90. So I'm an athletic guy,
It happens.
I can get it stuff quick.
Every now and again.
Oh, I definitely shit the bed.
Yeah, it happens. All right. Well, with that, now we've gone through four very unique, very different pours. I wanted to. So you already said it, but birthday.
That's my favorite.
Birthday whiskey is your favorite.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, the birthday bourbon, 101.7 proof. It is the 6.6 age, and this little cute little son of a gun was poured on 4.7, bottled 4.7, I reckon, right?
Yes,
was
sir.
it pulled 4.7 or bottled 4.7? I'd be interested to know that.
Yeah, would be the bottle date, I'm assuming. Yeah.
I mean, it's all really good.
Yeah,
It's all really
they
good.
did not let us.
They did a
let us
really good
astray.
job.
Yeah.
Rob, right?
Robbie, yes, sir.
Robbie, great job, man. Enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, this is your opportunity to tell the world who Jake Jacobson is. Where do we find you? How do we hear you? How do we make you elevate to that next level?
Well, like I said earlier, man, I'm just a throwback kid from the mountains. I hope that everybody can hear my roots in my songs and in the stories that I tell, and how proud I am to be from Northern Nevada and the Northern California side of things. And if you wanna find me, my website is www.Jake Jacobson. That's JACOBSON country COUNTRY.com. And it's got links on there to all of my social platforms: Instagram, TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, and Facebook. We've also got a store on the little drop-down menu of my website. You click store, it'll take you to get some of the most badass t-shirts you ever seen in your life.
I bet.
And I designed them all myself. So I'm quite proud of those.
Well, you gotta be, yeah.
But merch makes a big difference for guys like me. If you come to the live show, obviously you ain't gonna have to pay the shipping costs on the t-shirts. We've also got some really, really sweet in-person exclusive hats that are brand new, that are really neat. A lot of in-person exclusive stuff, but there's also a lot of online store exclusive stuff, because
cool.
it was getting, I would have my stack of stuff at home, or in the trailer that I grab and ship wherever I can, but it's just so hard for me to do it that I was like, I gotta set up something online for places that we never go tour, for those people to still be able to get the shirts and get the merch and support the cause.
That's awesome.
Rep the brand.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we're coming to a city near you, and we bring in the tonk for sure. So if you like rowdy ass loud country music, I'm your guy. And I want to give a quick shout out to my badass band, the Battleborn Band, because all my guys are either born in Nevada or have resided in Nevada for a little bit of time. So we're proud to be from the Silver State. And I also want to give a quick shout out to the badass people that helped me along the way, because to tell you the truth, I wouldn't be doing it without them. They make everything easier on me. Highmark Distillery, Double R Hat Company, Resist All, Battleborn Boots, Brothers Barbecue, Full Tilt Logistics, and AT&T. Great people. Great people. And it takes a village to get our asses down the honky-tonk highway. And we appreciate everybody, for sure. And if you live in Northern Nevada, I do put on a songwriters night.
Thank you.
Yes, I do put on a songwriters night, usually every Monday. If there's a discrepancy or a show that conflicts, we move it from the Cypress in Midtown to Highmark Distillery. Highmark is the premier sponsor of it. Phenomenal local distillery. The lady that runs it is one of the most badass chicks I've ever met in my life. She's like Alaskan bush pilot, whiskey distiller, just super cool.
Wow.
Felicia Keith Jones. If we have a conflict, we move to Highmark, but it's typically going to be at Cypress in Midtown, and it's a Nashville-style song swap. So, just like you're going to see a writers' round in Nashville, we'll have anywhere from 6 to 9 artists a night. So either, we're either going to do 3 rounds of 2 or 3 rounds of 3 artists. So I'm really just doing what I can to help the next guy in line and give artists in Reno a chance that maybe if they don't have a full band or a way to get out and play their songs all the time, they can't get a show, they're more than welcome to, shoot me a message. And if I like what they're doing, I'd love to put them on the lineup and just give them a spot to play their songs at, because the West Coast doesn't have enough of it, man. They don't.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, that is a wrap on our pour heavy, story-filled episode. Again, big thanks to Jake Jacobson for driving down here from Reno, spending a Thursday afternoon and evening with us, about talking music, whiskey, and everything in between. Make sure to check them out. Go find them on all the platforms, all the streaming. I found you everywhere.
Yeah, it's just at Jake Jacobson Country.
Okay.
And if you search that, it'll take you to the next one.
Mm-hmm. And you will not be disappointed. I haven't known you for very long, but when I got introduced to your music, I was not disappointed. I have a lot of fun listening to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Once again, a huge thank you to Silverbelly Whiskey and Robbie Goldsmith for making today's tasting possible. That birthday whiskey, absolutely fire.
That was my favorite.
That was fantastic.
I like it a lot.
If you guys get a chance if you see that on the shelf, I do suggest you try a bottle. I'd love to get your feedback and see what you guys thought about it, and let me know.
Man. Here in the real world. Oh, it's a great one.
Mm-hmm. And with that, if you loved our episode, if you like this episode, please let us know. It makes a big difference. Go out there, show us some love, subscribe, share, drop a review. Let somebody know. You can find us on all platforms at Bourbon and Ballistics. And until next time, keep your powder dry, your whiskey neat, and thank you for tuning in to Bourbon and Ballistics podcast.
Tell your mom and them.
Tell your mama.
I cross state lines with you.